Okay, so property inspection review on Alma. The report has a page for every system: roofing, plumbing, heating, and electrical, that kind of thing. And things are ranked: major concern, safety issue, monitor or improve. So what do we have here? We have a kind of slab foundation for the garage, raised foundation for the balance of the property, floor is relatively level, house is bolted down on the foundation. You have 100 amps of power coming in, a newer panel in the laundry room, which is nice. You've got GFCI outlets. They turn off. I think you're being shocked. They are in the kitchen and they are in the bathrooms, and they did all but one turned off when I tripped it. The wet bar downstairs did not trip when I shorted it out. The outside outlets don't have GFCI. They should, and so should the garage. The roof is a roll roofing, which is a sheet that they lay out. Neat, tidy, lying flat. Really hasn't developed any significant rips, some small little ripples here and there, but no blisters or anything. It's not delaminating. On the roof, you've got two gas appliances where their vent pipes come out of the roof. So one's for the water heater and one's for the forced air heater. The forced air heater exhaust vent pipe should come out of the roof to daylight and fitted with the proper terminal. But here, it's terminating inside the cone-shaped housing of a T-hood flashing. So a T-hood flashing was like a volcano, and then it has like a domed roof on it. That's fine for an exhaust fan, but that's not a listed gas appliance vent terminal. The reason why is the vent pipe ends somewhere in that cone with gaps all the way around it, so exhaust can just blow back down those gaps into the framing cavities and so forth. Versus if the pipe exits to daylight, we know it's outside, and so there's no way for it to leak because of a transition issue into the building. The water heater exhaust pipe is sealed to the cone-shaped flashing coming out of the roof. There should be a gap there and a little hat brim slid down called a storm collar. Storm collar, it's like $5. COVID. The garage door.
The door with the
Right,
air.
right. The garage vehicle door reverses when you break the beam. It doesn't reverse when it lands on an 1.5-inch object, just a clutch adjustment. It's kind of noisy. Some of them are noisy just because of the quality of the door. There's no insulation on them. They rattle and make almost like a drum skin. They just make a lot of noise. It's powered by an extension cord. It's supposed to have its own outlet right near it. The reverse sensors, the optical sensors, are too high up. They want them 4 and 6 inches off the floor. This is regular stuff we see on door openers every day. In the garage, you've got a lot of piping coming through the walls and the ceilings. So if the hole is this big and the pipe is that big, you've got to seal all this. They don't want a fire from the garage or fumes working through those angular gaps into the wall cavities. So it's common to see that those things aren't sealed, easy to do. The crawl space has an access hatch in the garage. So we do see those, but they're supposed to be self-closing, self-latching, 1 3/8 thick wood like a door. And that's not that. What that one is it's a screen, a rigid frame screen with a piece of drywall set into it. It's actually not bad. The drywall will stop a fire, but it's not self-closing, self-latching. And so technically this is the wrong access hatch for a crawl space from a garage. The exterior is in good shape. The water heaters. So I'm gonna talk about, there's 2 water heaters I'm gonna talk about because one's the laundry room, which you use as well. So the water heaters are older, they're around 20 years old. So that's getting there. They're strapped for earthquake. The big one in the garage I can easily rock. Obviously, I'm incredibly strong. But it shouldn't move. It should be tight to the wall.
Maximum number of jokes per inspection?
Yeah, you get 20 jokes, so we're just getting warmed up.
Okay.
Snug to the wall, and it sits on a wood platform. It's got to have a pan in case it leaks on the pan. Then that pan drains to the garage floor. I don't care if the garage floor gets wet. You just want the pan, because you're going to pull them with a wet car in the rain. So that doesn't matter. It's just, you don't want the wood frame to get rotted out and the whole thing collapses. At the base of the water heater, the outer case, because the tank is inside, the insulation in the outer case has got blisters and corrosion. So it's either condensing on the inside between the tank and the outer cabinet, or it's starting to maybe weep or sweat or leak a little bit. There's no water stains, nothing's wet there yet, but we see blistering on the inside of the tank, or on the outside part of the tank case. It's heads up, that combined with its age. It's just an old water heater. It has a temperature pressure relief valve, so water heaters sometimes will run wild, want to blow up. So instead of that happening, we release the pressure out of a relief valve. You have the valve, it's good. A rigid pipe should be stuck to that valve and that pipe terminating right above the garage floor. You can't use a flexible connector. The kind of connector you can use to hook the hot and the cold water pipe to the water heater. You can't use that same connector for a TPR valve. Because it's flexible, it's not the same, because the diameter along its flex, there's a restriction that's not the same size as the valve. And so you basically defeat the valve. So rigid pipe at the TPR valve. Although not a part of this, serving this unit, but still on the building premises, you've got a Zinsco electrical panel that serves the other unit, and a Federal Pacific panel that serves the laundry room. And all we tell you are, if you go online and read about them, it's thousands of pages that talk about them.
That's not the Federal Pacific is not for the neighboring unit?
So here's what we've got. There's 3 meters here. So 1 meter is 50 amps, the other one's 100. And those 2 breakers, serve cables that leave that area and go to remote areas. So one of those remote areas is the laundry room branch panel, and the other one is the house branch panel, also in the laundry room. Next to it is an independent panel with its own meter, and it has 70 amps, and that serves that building. So the house meter is in the laundry room, small, that's Federal Pacific.
Huh?
And then you've got the larger one that's newer in the laundry panel, that serves this unit. Then we have the Zinsco panel, the 3rd meter unit that actually serves the other building. But none of them are labeled, that's just reverse engineering trying to figure it out. But that appears to be how it all is. So we just tell you those panels aren't great, although they don't control circuits in your unit, they're still problematic panels that are attached to your structure and are things that you interact with as far as the laundry room one. So just heads up, we just say get rid of them because there's no real good I know they sell new breakers for them, but the new breakers are just remanufactured old breakers. They don't have any new technology and they're just as problematic. So
To be clear, the recommendation is the neighbor should replace his panel.
yeah. And the Federal Pacific panel should be between both.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that seems to be the one that does just the laundry area. Coming to the inside, looking around, kicking the tires, we're doing pretty good. It's well maintained, it's well presented. It's going to be smaller things. One of these things is the window gaskets. So see over here, we see the bulging gasket on this window. And so some of these manufacturers, you can see it bulging there, they just have a defective gasket. And there's a handful of those that are doing it. Also, these windows open and they're low. A child can open these and topple out. So we suggest security screens that you can't deform the frame so it won't pop out. And that should be at the areas all here where they're all low. Also, like this railing, there's gaps large enough for a child to pass right through. So just, again, heads up on that. There's no handrail on the stairway heading down. The laundry room has more than 3 steps getting up to it technically. There should be a handrail there. So those kind of technical issues will be in the report. These things are common for the age. The handrail missing here isn't, but the other outside stuff is common for the age, and we just share it with you. In the master bathroom, the tub shower diverter is kind of stiff to operate, doesn't divert all the water. The bathroom over here has some water damage next to the shower enclosure. It could have been the previous enclosure, or maybe some missing caulking and some water came out, air water, bouncing off the user, coming out of the glass
I remember this.
edge, and that is a common thing to see. You can just see it over here on this side.
Oh, it is?
You just see how it's peeled right there. Okay. The toilets should be caulked at their base just to keep them still. Yeah, I can put a screwdriver underneath there, and so heads up on that. The ceiling fan over here, I actually couldn't find the remote for it. There's no pull chains, so just had the seller demonstrate a video of the thing turning, and we know it works. Downstairs, not much going on down there. Everything's pretty much doing what it should be doing. The wet bar area. The wet bar area has some light stains on the back of the cabinet. It's kind of common to see. There's different opinions as to what it is. It's nothing fatal. We just say wipe it down. You're going to get sometimes elevated humidity down there. It faces the east, and just depending on occupant utilization, you can condensation develops in those areas. There's no leak. The kitchen, everything here works like gangbusters. The exhaust fan uses a flexible duct, which you see all the time, but it's rigid ducting only. The dishwasher's running right now, that's good to go. Oven came on. Cooktop, some of the burner controls, the actual knobs, are a little bit deformed from heat. I think a large pot, radiating heat just slightly deforms some of those knobs, and it happens. But other than that, everything else here is good to go. The forced air heater. The forced air heater we talked about the exhaust pipe on it. The manufacturer of the heater says they want 3 inches frontal clearance from the face of the heater to this door. And so the door closes against that stop. So if we measure from the door to the stop, there's 3 inches, and that's where the door goes, right? So we don't have our 3 inches. Not much you can do about it. And we do see this. They just want a cushion of air here and enough air to get into these louvers, which there are plenty of louvers, because you burn air with the gas, as well as you circulate air. Circulation air comes in through here, combustion air comes in through here, and there's ducts in here that go to the roof to allow that air to come in and refill. So just a little bit of a clearance issue. The filter's dirty. The base of the heater is not sealed. It's got to be sealed so when the fan is on, it's not sucking whatever is in this closet into the return air chamber. And what's happening in this closet is combustion inside this part of the heater. So it has to be sealed all the way around the base on that shelf. It should only be drawing air in from these louvers, not from this closet, from any gaps. So again, pretty easy. And I see here, I get they put the metal here. Oh, the metal will be like a heat shield. All metal does is transfer heat. It's like, never understood why they do this. Put drywall here maybe, but the metal doesn't do much.
Let me ask you one question.
Yeah.
How easy is that to fix then?
You really can't fix it. I mean, it is what it is. These things have a lot of sensors in them. They have on a logic board. If it thinks there's a problem, it's getting too hot to run, it'll shut off.
But I could call in a heating specialist.
The only
to
way you
change
could fix
the
this-
filter or something?
You filter it right. The only way you could fix anything else is have a different door put on that closed flush against this surface. So we pick up all this space. So the door would stand out. That's the only way you're gonna get the 3 inches. Knock off all this, take this off, remount the hinges to the jamb, and have the door be a surface close, not an inset door.
But at this point, you
It is what
recommend putting a new filter
Yeah, just
on?
new filter, seal the base of it, and the exhaust cap is wrong on the roof.
Okay.
So those are the things. You don't have to rip the roof open to fix the exhaust pipe scenario. The domed hood on that cone can be ripped off. The exhaust pipe can be extended out of that opening. The storm collar, the hat brim, slid down to fill any gap between the opening of that volcano, the cone flashing, and the size of the pipe, and you put the cap on. So you don't tear the roof open, you just modify what's up there. Easy to do. I'm just trying to think of anything else. Smoke alarms, they're missing in the upstairs bedrooms. They gotta be in each bedroom. There's one right here, so technically it's too close to the ceiling. You like them 6 inches from the ceiling. But that one is a smoke carbon. Downstairs has a bedroom smoke and has a smoke carbon in the general area, just like you're supposed to have. In the crawl space, the waste piping. So the waste piping is older, and the waste pipe guy was here and did say there's some issues, and you'll read his report. The waste piping is older, which develops blossoms, like rust blossoms, and pinhole leaks. They kind of heal themselves. Then it leaks over here. That heals itself. Then it leaks over here. That's what's happening with that waste piping. And there is a closed off, unused branch opening. So they put a cap on it with 2 metal bands, and the bands just rusted and blew apart. And so then that offset the cap. So maybe a worst case scenario, under a lot of use, if the roots start letting water back up, you may get some seepage coming out of there in the crawl space. Under normal use, you won't. But if you have a high occupant load, simultaneous utilization of shower areas, flushing toilets, that kind of thing, that will be a problem.
The crawl space is dry right now?
Dry, and it's all easily accessible stuff. And it's just a cap we're talking about to put back on there. And that's pretty much, it. It's very, what you see is what you get here. There is no attic, so everything is conspicuous. You can get your hands on and eyeballs on virtually everything. The crawl space, even, you can see almost all of it from the hatch. I went inside of it. But all this stuff is fairly conventional. We talk about Zinsco panels every day. We talk about Federal Pacific panels every day. Garage doors that don't want to reverse when they hit something every day. Water heater's not strapped right every day. We already have a comment for these windows with the bulging gaskets. We already have a comment for windows that are too low, that open up, that don't have safety screens. We already have comments for railings that this stuff just is a regular grab bag of defects that we come across. There's really nothing out of control here or outrageous for its age, location, or its conspicuous condition of being well maintained. So Read the whole report. You have any questions, just give me a call. Reports always read hardcore. The deck. The deck is interesting in its assembly in that instead of being supported by cantilevered floor joists that extend out every 16 inches, it's actually supported on a cantilevered girder that comes out, wide girder, and then a double set of floor joists at the end. And then they have the joists running this way supporting it. It's very sturdy underfoot. It's got flashing against the building so water can't get to the ledger board that's below this. It can't get behind it. And all that's excellent. Right here, this little flashing right here. So all that stuff is good, and it feels really, really solid. Decks are exposed to the weather. They can develop issues inside the framing cavity, the floor cavity that we can't see. That the only way to get any information on that would be to open up the garage ceiling. But these ventilate versus decks that are enclosed, stucco underside, elastomeric finish. They don't ventilate. So if you get moisture in them, they start to rot everything out. So this is a different kind of an animal, and because of that, and because of the fact that it just seems so sturdy, it seems to be in great shape. But only by further investigation, destructive investigation, would you know anything more about it. That's way outside of what we do. But nice railing. We tell you that ladder, this is like a ladder. Kids want to climb this, so just heads up. But there's no opening greater than 4 inches, which is correct. This is the right height, and so that's good.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're doing well.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, you're welcome.